Hello everyone, Erin here from Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. So I wanted to record a podcast. We are in the middle of, we're not in the middle of moving. We've already moved in. And we're in a much smaller place temporarily because we had to move from the place that we were living. Our landlord's very nice, but circumstances came up. So I wanted to record a little podcast before I go out to California to visit my friend, my best friend, fun. And I'm very excited to go out. I feel like I've been traveling a lot, but there's a lot of people that I love. And, you know, at least for me, when I lost my mom, it kind of makes you rethink what's important in life. And the most important thing to me is not work anymore. It is connection. And so I am going out to see the people that I love more often. So that means I travel more. And you know what? I've set up my life to where I can do that. So, but sometimes with routine things like recording a podcast, it kind of, it interrupts the routine. And so I always try to make things happen, and I accept that it's not going to be perfect. For example, I'm recording this in our living room, not in my studio, and so it might sound a little tinny, so I apologize for that, but perhaps you can go beyond that sound and hear my words. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the power of choosing to reframe. What does that mean? Well, every day when I wake up in this one bedroom condo, I choose to believe that it is our vacation home. Matt and I are on vacation, and even though we have, you know, our stuff is all in boxes, I choose to believe that this is a vacation time for us. And because I choose that, I feel lighter when I wake up. Now, I can tell you that there was 1 or 2 days where I did not choose that, and I let my mind go into default, which was panic, and oh my God, and all my shit's everywhere, and we're all discombobulated, and where are we going to live in 3 months? And I will tell you that that damn near gave me a panic attack. So, you know, like, in life, you have a choice, right? You have many choices, but one of the choices, and I think one of the most important choices that you have, is in the morning when you wake up, right? And how are you going to perceive the day? How are you going to perceive your life? So if you're anything like me, my mind immediately starts going about all the things I need to do, all the things I need to be productive. I need to get up. I need to, you know, it's like a checklist from my personal care and self-care practices to like business-wise to like, you know, looking into the future. I'm a very like future-focused type person in my default setting. Sometimes I ruminate on the past, but I'm more likely to be anxious than depressed. That's just how I am, or the nature of my mind, not how I am. So I have to actively choose thoughts that are going to bring me more into gratitude, more into the present moment, more in alignment with truth and serenity and peace. I don't naturally have those thoughts pop up unless I'm like doing my silent meditations, like, you know, I've been silent for a couple of days, then I can wake up and feel naturally peaceful. But like life is not like that, right? So I always record this podcast and I try to be authentic, and I never try to pretend I'm something I'm not. I'm not enlightened. I am a yogi. I've been practicing for almost 20 years, and I use those tools every day. Now, if there's days where I'm not using them quite as well, or, you know, my brain's like, I don't want to, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's not do any of that today, I suffer. Like just to be transparent. So I don't think you ever stop using the tools. I think that you upgrade your tools. I think that you have a spiritual community. I think that you show up and do the damn work. And also, like, remember your true essence, that you're much more than just this body and these thoughts and this mind, your consciousness. So I have like things I need to remind myself of. So reframing. So every day I have to wake up and I have to choose that Matt and I are on vacation. This is our vacation home. And I have to give a lot of gratitude to the wonderful friends that are letting us stay here while they're up north, because it is very generous of them. And we're trying to like fix up the place, you know, so they come back and it's like all in nice working order for them, just as, you know, a karma exchange. So if I let my brain go on default, it will go into disaster zone. It will go into worst case scenario. So maybe you resonate with that. Maybe, you know, you wake up and your mind immediately goes towards disaster zone like mine does. Now, right now, my life is a little turbulent because, yeah, it is a little different. You know, there's boxes everywhere and things are a little disheveled, and I had to routinely climb in the garage and like hop over boxes to like grab my shit. It's an adventure every time, right? See, there's a reframe. It's an adventure every time, not I'm going to break my neck every time. But it's a really powerful tool, and it's come in really handy. But again, like right when you wake up, I think that that's the most important thing is right when I wake up, I make sure that I do that, because otherwise it's like my mind, once it gets momentum, like it'll just like imagine those, if you've ever been to a Cracker Barrel, they sell these little ferrets. It's not real ferret, it's fake ferret. And it's like attached to a ball, and it's like a kid's toy, or it might be like a pet toy. But once it gets going, like the little ferret is just like thwapping on the ground, and it can be great fun entertainment if it, you know, for the toy, but for your mind, it's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. And it's like, I did this before when I was sick, and I think I recorded a somewhat similar podcast when it's like, okay, you wake up, you're going through a tough time and you have a choice. So when I was sick, I'd like wake up like, okay, I don't feel good. I'm a 3 today. I'm going to acknowledge that, and I have a choice. I have a choice how I show up. You always have a choice. You have a choice that you could take a few deep breaths and you can drop into your body. I'm choosing every morning to do my yoga practice like without fail. Like I will show up to my mat no matter what. And some days I feel super distracted, and other days like today I did like, probably about an hour and 20-minute practice, and then I rearranged some things at the studio. And today's bout day. That's why I'm wearing my braid and tucky with my red lipstick. I knew I needed that because the 2 days beforehand were a little bit less of a practice. And then I made time to meditate. You know, for me, again, I'll get this like ball of anxiety that's in my stomach. And for a long time, I didn't know how to access that. I didn't know what to do with it. And so I was bulimic. I was bulimic for 12 years. That's a long fucking time to have an eating disorder, and like such a severe one. And so I had to make a big change in my life, and I had to realize what was not working, and realize like, wow, like I'm creating these thoughts that's creating this feeling inside of my belly. And sometimes it gets so overwhelming, I feel like I can't reach it anymore. And so that's why mourning and choosing to reframe is super important. If you have the luxury of midway through the day doing a little check-in, that is like my sweet spot. When I can do that, like I had a meditation about an hour ago for 20 minutes. And it's amazing how it just brings everything from like hyperspeed and oh my God, and my head's on fire to like, I got this. And that's actually, I did my hair. If you're watching the video, you can see my nice hair. I'm in the stages of growing out an asymmetrical haircut. And so like, I'm like, oh, and that just came to me. Like certain things just come much easier when you have a clear mind. So if you are going through a tough time, if you are sick, or if you're just like used to living in anxiety every day, maybe carving out some time in the morning before you start getting going, and just create some space and maybe pop the hood and see what you're working with mentally. Like, what are my thoughts? You can do a thought dump. Like, oh, everything's on fire and I need to do everything now, like multiple things at once. And you look at that and you're like, wow, that's terribly unreasonable, brain. Like, why are you doing this to me? Your brain wants to solve problems. You're not your brain, but it will certainly drive you crazy if you just let it go on autopilot. So that's why this work is important. That's why these shares, that's why this podcast might be important for you, is because they're like meant to be little gems, like little sutras, little gems of wisdom that you can digest and apply to your life. And, you're worth it. And we are all connected in humanity. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. That's one of my new favorite quotes. So I hope that listening to this podcast, again, noticing what's going on in your mind, seeing if you can reframe the situation, and then notice how you feel. Like when I don't reframe, I feel anxious. Like, again, I shared that already. But when I reframe, I feel hopeful. If I have a slightly different thought, I feel excited. I feel peaceful. That's way better for me than like spinning in my head in anxiety. So this is a tool that you can use. And again, you can choose it every day. You can make it your practice and then just see how it goes. And I hope that helps. All right, another short one, just giving you some shorties as my life is a little turbulent, but I want to stay connected. So update, I have 5 more spots in the Costa Rica yoga teacher training. So if you are considering it, this retreat / training is like selling out quicker than any of my other trainings. If you want to get life coach certified, I am doing one in January 20th to the 27th, and you can do that in person or virtual. Both are very powerful. I have testimonies from people in person and virtual, and everyone just raves about it. If you listen to the podcast a few episodes back, if you're not quite sure, just listen to what everybody says. I didn't pay them. I didn't really prompt them. I just asked them questions, and they answered honestly, as far as I know. So, all right, I'm going to start rambling. So have a great day, and namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up. And it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.